Widowed farmer bought a condemned barn. The dog dug up a box with her name on it. Beneath the bruised skies of a fading autumn, a lonely farmer named Clara stood before the crumbling skeleton of an old barn, its beams creaking like the ghosts of forgotten tales. Widowed and weary, she bought the forsaken structure, hoping to breathe life back into the land. But as her loyal dog, Jasper, dug fervently at the barn's rotting floorboards, the earth surrendered its secret, a battered wooden box, crudely inscribed with Clara's name. Heart racing, Clara pried it open, revealing artifacts whispering of a life entwined with her own. A pocket watch, a faded letter, and a photograph that hinted at a long-buried tragedy. With each clue, the shadows of her past loomed ever closer, drawing her into a mystery that threatened the very fabric of her existence. As danger approached, Clara realized she wasn't just fighting for her future. She was confronting the specters of her past. As dawn broke over the dusty fields, its golden light painted the old barn in muted hues of forgotten glory. Clara stood at the threshold, tracing her fingers along the weathered beams, memories of laughter and love echoing within its walls. Her heart raced as she remembered the stories her late husband spun about hidden treasures left by the town's founders. The barn had been condemned, but now, with her loyal dog Rufus snuffling excitedly in the dirt, it felt like the start of something new, an adventure waiting to unravel. Just then, a sharp bark shattered the morning calm, and her breath caught as Rufus unearthed a weathered box, its surface adorned with her name. Clara's pulse quickened as she knelt beside the dog, her fingers trembling when they brushed against the engraved metal. The box felt foreign yet deeply familiar, as if it had always belonged to her. Memories flooded back, secrets shared in hushed tones, a past she had buried with her husband. What could be inside? Her mind raced with possibilities, and a sense of urgency enveloped her. This was her chance to reclaim a part of herself lost in grief. But even as her heart whispered hope, a shiver crawled up her spine. Who had buried this box, and why had she never known? Determined to uncover the truth, Clara enlisted the help of Tom, the town's historian, a rugged man with a penchant for the uncanny. As they examined the box, he disclosed tales of a hidden past, brotherhoods, betrayals, and feuds that had shaped their town. With each passing moment, the air thickened with intrigue, and Clara felt the weight of her husband's silence pressing heavily upon her. Yet the deeper they dug into the town's history, the clearer it became that some secrets were not meant to be unearthed. Clara's heart raced, torn between the thrill of discovery and the looming shadows of danger that curled around her like a phantom. As Clara and Tom pieced together the story, strange occurrences began to haunt her. The sudden disappearance of townsfolk, ominous warnings etched into her barn's walls. The safe haven she sought turned into a stage for rising threats, each corner shadowed by a sense of dread. Meanwhile, Rufus stayed close, his instinct leading Clara through the growing tempest of fear. With every cryptic clue they uncovered, it became harder to distinguish friend from foe. Clara felt the ground beneath her shifting, realizing that her quest for the truth was drawing her into the dark heart of the town's past, a place where lives intertwined and the dead still whispered. In a final confrontation beneath the shadow of the old barn, Clara faced those who sought to keep the past buried. Voices rose and fell like thunder, each accusation a dagger aimed at her heart. Yet in that chaotic moment, the box became her anchor, revealing its hidden contents. Letters that spoke of love, betrayal, and an undeniable connection between her and the town's history. Clarity pierced the fog of confusion as she unveiled secrets that had bound her family to this land long before her time. As the dust settled, Clara stood resolute, a fierce woman ready to reclaim her place and honor the silent stories that had echoed through the years. Rain drummed against the roof of the dilapidated structure, a rhythmic reminder of the past it had witnessed. The scent of damp wood mingled with the earthy undertone of hay, and Eliza stood in the doorway, peering into the shadows. The barn's timbers seemed to sigh under their own weight, secrets trapped within the layers of peeling paint. It was then that Rex, her faithful dog, began to sniff intently at a corner, his tail a metronome of excitement. With a determined dig, he unearthed a wooden box, its surface marred but intact, emblazoned with a name, Eliza. A shiver ran down Eliza's spine as she knelt beside Rex, heart pounding in her chest. She brushed away the dirt, revealing the engravings that spoke of a life before her own, a name she recognized from faded family photographs. She hesitated, mind racing with the implications. Memories of whispered family tales echoed in her thoughts. What had this box been doing buried in her barn? With trembling fingers, she opened the latch and cracked it ajar, revealing a tangle of yellowed letters and a locket that glimmered faintly in the dim light. As she sifted through the letters, each word seemed to unravel a strand of her own past, intertwining with the lives of those who had come before her. The letters told a story of lost love, betrayal, and a hidden fortune long thought gone. Eliza's heart ached at the thought of the sacrifices made, and her resolve to uncover the truth solidified. Stories buried deep within the barn walls began to surface, intertwining with her own grief and loss. Each letter felt like an echo of the hopes and fears that had once filled this space, igniting her need to investigate further. However, the deeper she dug, the more danger loomed over her like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. A sense of foreboding settled in her gut when she noticed footprints beside the barn, not made by Rex. Shadows flickered through the evening light as she heard muffled voices nearby, whispers that hinted at her family's hidden past. The scent of damp earth mixed with fear, and Eliza understood that she was not the only one interested in the secrets the barn held. The mystery had ensnared her as surely as it would ensnare anyone else who had once called this land home. The final confrontation came under the light of a waning moon. Eliza, emboldened by the revelations, sought out the source of the footprints. Tension crackled in the air as she stood face to face with a distant relative, a stranger with sharp eyes full of ambition and hidden agendas. The old locket hung heavy around her neck, pulsing with the weight of history. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. Words were exchanged, truths unveiled, as the barn around them became the battleground for their pasts. In that moment, Eliza realized that the box was more than a relic. It was the key to her own emancipation from grief, and she would not let it be taken from her again. Cora stood at the threshold of the condemned barn, the heavy scent of rotting wood mingling with the crisp autumn air. The dilapidated structure loomed over her, a ghost of her husband's dreams and her own haunting reality since his passing. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the field, she felt a tug at her heart, a whisper of the past urging her to step inside. Her loyal dog, Rusty, barked excitedly, scuffling through the debris. Cora hesitated, but a flicker of curiosity compelled her forward, the dim light revealing mysteries best left undisturbed. Rusty's relentless digging echoed in the silence, a desperate clawing at the earth as Cora knelt beside him, her hands trembling with anticipation. The ground gave way beneath their combined efforts, revealing a weathered box, its lid barely clinging to the hinges. With a hesitant breath, she pried it open, the hinges creaking like the sorrow in her heart. Inside lay a collection of faded letters tied with a fraying ribbon, her name scrawled across the top in her late husband's familiar handwriting. Confusion washed over her. A secret, a message meant only for her. What truths had he hidden in the shadows of their shared life? As night enveloped the landscape, Cora meticulously unfolded a letter, the ink smudged but unmistakable. Each word dripped with longing, painting a portrait of love intertwined with unspoken fears. Yet woven within the tender phrases were strange references to a hidden place, a meeting that had never occurred. Doubt tightened around her heart as she resolved to uncover the truth her husband never revealed. Was this a mere relic of affection, or was there something darker lurking in the secrets of their past? The weight of unanswered questions pressed upon her, urging her to dig deeper. The days that followed transformed Cora's grief into relentless determination. With Rusty at her side, she ventured into town, seeking fragments of a life she barely understood. Whispers followed her, sharp glances exchanged behind closed doors. She sensed the rising danger as she delved into her husband's past, unraveling a tapestry of betrayal and lost connections. Each encounter with wary townsfolk revealed a thread of conspiracy, tightening around her like a noose. Cora's heart raced with fear and resolve, the mystery unspooling beneath her hands, leading her to a precipice she could not ignore. As the final piece clicked into place, Cora found herself in a confrontation with the very people she had once trusted. The barn became a battleground of emotions, where love clashed with deceit. The letters revealed not only her husband's heart, but also the enemies he had made, those who threatened everything he held dear. In that moment, Cora transformed from a grieving widow into a fierce protector of her husband's legacy. As she stood defiant, the truth igniting a fire within, she realized that the burden of loss could also be the spark of rebirth, mysteries unfolding, secrets laid bare, and courage found in the ashes of despair. The sun hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows over the weathered barn, as Clara knelt beside her dog, Rusty. His paws dug insistently at the dirt, sending clumps flying as if he were uncovering buried treasure. Clara's heart raced, a mix of excitement and dread swelling within her. When Rusty finally unearthed a small, rusted box, Clara's breath caught. It was no larger than her hand, its surface engraved with intricate patterns that had faded with time. As she brushed away the dirt, a name caught her eye, hers. Doubt and curiosity intertwined, propelling her deeper into a mystery she never anticipated. With trembling hands, Clara pried open the box, revealing yellowed papers and a delicate locket. The faded letters were filled with familiar phrases that sent chills down her spine. They spoke of dreams, secrets, and an unspoken pact made long ago. Clara's gaze shifted to Rusty, whose ears perked up at the sound of rattling hinges in the wind. A nagging feeling crept in. This was no coincidence. It felt as if the past was reaching out, intertwining her present with threads she had long tried to sever. Determined, she tucked the box under her arm and resolved to uncover the truth behind these fragments of her life. Clara's search led her to the local historian, an elderly woman named Agnes who had lived in the area all her life. With each whispered word, Agnes painted a portrait of the barn's former glory and the family whose legacy had crumbled beneath the weight of secrets. Clara felt the room's atmosphere thicken with tension, as if the walls themselves held their breath. The more Agnes revealed about the previous owners, the more Clara sensed a looming danger, as though someone wanted these tales buried forever. She couldn't shake the feeling that the locket wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a key to something far more sinister. As Clara delved deeper, she noticed shadows lurking in her periphery, unfamiliar faces that seemed to watch her. The air crackled with unease, her heart pounding louder with each encounter. While standing near the barn one evening, she spotted a figure disappearing into the trees, a silhouette that felt menacing and familiar all at once. Panic surged, intertwining with a fierce determination to unearth the truth. Clara knew she had to confront this hidden threat, whatever it might be, and find out who was willing to go to such lengths to silence her search. The night of revelation arrived, thick with the scent of impending rain. Clara stood at the barn's entrance, the box clutched tightly in her hand. She faced the figure that had haunted her thoughts, a man she once trusted, now wrapped in shadows and deceit. Their conversation crackled with tension as past betrayals surfaced, the weight of years of secrecy crashing down like the storm gathering overhead. Clara's resolve hardened. She would not allow fear to dictate her life any longer. With the truth finally uncovered, she stood firm, ready to reclaim her story from a past that had tried to bury her. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dilapidated barn, its weathered boards whispering secrets of the past. Rachel knelt beside her golden retriever, Jasper, who pawed eagerly at the earth near the rotting foundation. Each scrape of his claws sent tendrils of dirt spiraling into the air, and an uneasy flutter stirred in Rachel's chest. With trepidation, she reached down to help him dig. What at first seemed like a mere distraction soon morphed into a frenzy as the dog unearthed something solid. Through the dust, a metal box revealed itself, its surface engraved with a name, Rachel. Heart pounding, she stared at the discovery, unable to comprehend the implications. What was this box doing in a condemned barn? The air felt thick with a mix of dread and curiosity, urging her forward. She could sense the weight of expectations and echoes of lives once lived here. Cautiously, she brushed the dirt away, revealing a latch that had weathered the elements. With trembling fingers, Rachel lifted it open, and the creaking sound echoed, as if the barn itself held its breath. sharing in her anticipation and fear. Inside, the box contained a collection of faded letters, photographs, and an old locket, each item infused with a life story unknown to her. The delicate scent of aged paper filled her nostrils, stirring a cascade of emotions within. As she rummaged through the contents, the letters spoke of love, betrayal, and a promise made long ago, each line drawing her deeper into the lives of the people who had called this place home. A knot tightened in Rachel's stomach as she recognized familiar names, her own family intertwined within the fabric of their lives, pulling her closer to a haunting legacy she never knew existed. Driven by an insatiable need to uncover the truth, Rachel enlisted the help of her neighbor, Tom, who had lived in the area for decades. His weathered face tightened with concern as he studied the contents of the box, unearthing details of a forgotten chapter that intertwined their families. As night fell, the barn seemed to transform, shadows dancing as they pieced together the fragmented history. Yet with each revelation, a palpable tension built. Who had buried these secrets and why? The deeper they dug, the more they sensed a looming danger that would not stay buried forever. As whispers from the past converged with the present, Rachel and Tom found themselves drawn into a web of conspiracy that spanned generations. The discovery of the box had unearthed not only forgotten love letters, but also a buried resentment that threatened to rip apart the fragile fabric of their community. Confronted by adversaries who would stop at nothing to keep the past buried, Rachel felt the weight of responsibility shift onto her shoulders. With the truth hanging precariously on the edge, she braced herself for a confrontation that would force her to choose between preserving her family's legacy and unearthing the truth. A chill wind swept through the remnants of the condemned barn, sending shivers across Eleanor's spine as she knelt beside the dog, Jasper. He pawed eagerly at the ground, his barking breaking the silence that had settled around her like a heavy fog. Just moments ago, she had felt the weight of despair pressing down, but now curiosity ignited a flicker of hope. Eleanor brushed away the dirt and revealed a battered box, its wood aged and splintered, yet emblazoned with her name in a delicate script. Her heart raced. How could this be? This place was supposed to be empty, abandoned. With trembling hands, she pried the box open, revealing an assortment of letters, each yellowed with age, and a small ornate locket. Despite the dust, the intimacy of the treasure felt alive. The letters spoke of love and betrayal, of a woman named Clara, who had lived and lost in this very barn decades ago. As she read the words, Eleanor felt an unshakable connection to Clara's plight. The widow's heart resonated with the anguish of another. The mystery deepened. Who was Clara, and why had she left these poignant messages hidden away? Driven by a sudden urge to uncover the truth, Eleanor began her investigation. She spent hours at the local library, combing through dusty archives and town records, piecing together Clara's heart-wrenching story. The more she discovered, the more vivid Clara's world became. Lost loves, broken promises, and a tragic fate that echoed her own. Each clue unraveled threads that tied their lives together across time. Yet lurking in the shadows of this tale was the figure of a man, a secret that had remained buried alongside Clara's memories. But as the days turned into weeks, an unsettling tension began to rise. Eleanor noticed shadows flitting at the edges of her farm, muffled whispers carried on the wind. Jasper, once a loyal companion, now growled at unseen threats. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone wanted to keep Clara's story buried. The barn, once a refuge, felt suffocating, a trap designed to keep her from unearthing the truth. Eleanor's resolve hardened. She would confront whatever darkness lurked behind the mystery, even if it meant stepping into danger herself. The final confrontation came on a stormy night, lightning illuminating the silhouettes of the past. Eleanor stood resolute in the barn, the letters and locket clutched tight in her hands as the air crackled with tension. A shadow emerged from the darkness, revealing an older man with eyes that held both fear and rage. As he revealed a connection to Clara, a brother who had sworn to protect her secrets, the weight of the revelation crashed over Eleanor. They were bound by a shared history she had never known, and the truth could either bind them together or tear them apart. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside. leaving Eleanor to choose between silence and the truth that had haunted them both for far too long. The afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dilapidated barn as Clara knelt beside her dog, Baxter. He pawed furiously at the dirt, his snout snuffling in the earth's richness. Clara's heart raced at the sight of a worn wooden box emerging from the ground. As she brushed the soil away, her fingers trembled, recalling the stories her late husband had whispered about lost treasures hidden in forgotten places. With each breath, Clara felt the pull of the past, a tether to a life she thought she had left behind. Once the box was free, her pulse quickened. It bore her name, engraved in an ornate script that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. Clara's breath caught in her throat, a pungent mix of fear and curiosity gnawing at her insides. What could be inside? In the quiet of the barn, she opened it slowly, her heart pounding like a drum. The contents were both mundane and disconcerting. Letters, a locket, and a photograph of a man she didn't recognize. The world seemed to slip away as the air between her and the past thickened with questions. Driven by an unexpected sense of urgency, Clara began her investigation. She sought out the town's historian, a silver-haired woman whose eyes danced with the memories of the past. As she flipped through dusty pages of old records, Clara discovered that the man in the photograph was Joseph Landry, a well-known recluse who had vanished decades ago. Rumors swirled of a hidden fortune, of secrets buried deep beneath the town's surface. Each shred of information unraveled the fabric of her own history, exposing her to the shadows of what had been. The closer she drew to the truth, the more danger lurked in the corners of her life. Black sedan followed her home, headlights piercing the quiet night. Whispers traced her steps as she shared her findings. Not everyone wanted the past unearthed. As the townsfolk began to treat her with suspicion, staring through narrowed eyes, Clara felt the walls closing in. The weight of unseen hands tugged at her, pushing her deeper into a labyrinth filled with half-truths, forcing her to question who she could trust, even herself. It all culminated one stormy evening, when Clara stood face to face with a shadow from her husband's past. The stranger with a scarred face revealed the truth behind the letters. They were not love notes, but clues to a conspiracy that had driven Joseph Landry into hiding. Clara's resolve hardened. With a deep breath, she confronted the stranger about her husband's involvement in this web of deceit. The confrontation rumbled through the barn like thunder, each word echoing her doubts and fears, as she fought to reclaim her future from the shadows of the past. As the sun dipped below the horizon, coloring the sky with hues of orange and purple, Clara stood by the dilapidated barn. Its weathered boards whispered secrets from another time. Her loyal dog, Rusty, was pawing at the ground, unearthing something half-buried in the dirt. With each scoop of his enthusiastic paws, Clara felt a mixture of anticipation and dread wash over her. The town had always murmured about the barn's dark past, but now, as her heart raced, she found herself yearning to uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of neglect and time. When Rusty finally unearthed a small rusted box, Clara's breath caught in her throat. The moment felt surreal as she crouched down, the cool metal warm against her trembling hands. A name etched into the surface sent a shiver down her spine. Her name. Clara's heart pounded and a kaleidoscope of emotions whirled within her. She was a widow, grappling with loss. But this discovery ignited a spark of curiosity that transcended her grief. As she examined the box, she knew she was on the brink of an unveiling that could change everything she thought she knew about her life in this town. Days became a blur as Clara delved into the mystery, poring over old town records and speaking to the elderly residents who had witnessed the barn's history. Each conversation revealed fragments of stories, whispers of a tragic event that had seemingly bound the community to silence. Townsfolk offered vague warnings, their eyes darting away, as if fearing the shadows that lingered where the barn stood. As Clara pieced together the narrative, she felt a growing weight on her chest, a sense of danger lurking just beyond her reach, like a storm gathering on the horizon. One stormy night, she was jolted awake by a loud crash. Heart racing, Clara grabbed a lantern and stepped outside, the rain pouring down in sheets. Shadows danced around her as she approached the barn, the wind howling like a wounded beast. There, through the lashing rain, stood a figure, cloaked in darkness and intent. The confrontation was electric, the air thick with tension as she demanded answers. The man, a stranger cloaked in secrets, revealed himself to be tied to the past Clara had unearthed, a key player in the tragedy that had shrouded her name in mystery for decades. In that electrifying moment, Clara felt both the weight of her lineage and the resolve to confront what had been hidden for too long. The revelation that the box contained not only her name, but remnants of a life intertwined with loss and betrayal, was almost too much to bear. But as the stranger revealed the truth of her family's past, she recognized that her loneliness could be transformed into strength. The confrontation morphed from fear to clarity, revealing the deeper connections she had with the town, her heart swelling with the determination to reclaim her narrative and restore the hope that had been lost within the whispers of the town. The wind howled through the rotting barn, a symphony of creaks and groans. Lila stood in the dim light, heart racing as she brushed her fingers across the rough-hewn beams. The dog, a scruffy mutt named Scout, danced around her feet, barking excitedly before darting toward a shadowy corner. Lila followed, curiosity mingling with dread as she stumbled upon the disturbed earth. Scout's incessant digging revealed a weathered wooden box, its surface cloaked in dirt and mystery. A shiver ran through her as she caught sight of her name etched into the wood, the letters almost glowing in the gloom. Lila knelt beside Scout, her breath hitching even as anticipation bubbled up within her. What secrets lay within? With trembling hands, she pried the box open, revealing a collection of crumbling letters tied with frayed twine. The ink had faded, but the words still held a haunting weight, narrating a love story that echoed through generations. Lila's heart ached as snippets of the past enveloped her, yet an unsettling feeling gnawed at her. These letters weren't just memories. They hinted at a web of deception that reached far beyond her own history. Days turned into a whirlwind of investigation, Lila finding herself entangled in the lives of the long-gone correspondents. Each clue, each cryptic reference drew her deeper into a world where trust was a fragile illusion. She visited the local archives, combing through old newspapers, feeling the gaze of curious townsfolk on her every move. Whispers of a scandal floated through the air like a phantom, and as she unearthed more pieces of the puzzle, Lila felt a growing sense of urgency. Something was out there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be brought to light. But with each revelation, the shadows began to close in around her. Lila sensed a rising danger, the air thick with unspoken threats. Mysterious encounters turned sinister as she felt unseen eyes tracking her every step. Late-night phone calls echoing with silence chilled her to the bone. As the walls of her investigation tightened, she found herself questioning everyone around her, including the very friends she once confided in. The weight of the secrets she uncovered threatened not only her sense of safety, but could unravel the fragile threads binding her to her new life. Finally, the truth reared its head with an explosive confrontation at the barn one stormy night. Lila stood face to face with an unexpected figure from the past, a former lover of one of the letter writers, desperate to keep the truth hidden. The storm raged outside, mirroring the tempest of emotions crashing within Lila. Betrayal and vengeance hung heavy in the air, and as the two clashed over the buried secrets, Lila realized the letters were not merely tales of romance, but a stark reminder of a terrible betrayal that echoed through time. As the final piece of the mystery clicked into place, Lila understood. The past could either shackle her or set her free. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dilapidated barn as Clara knelt beside her dog, Max. His tail wagged furiously, nose buried deep in the earth, pawing at something hidden beneath a layer of dirt and rotting leaves. With a heart full of trepidation, Clara brushed the soil away, revealing a weathered wooden box marked with her name. The air grew heavy with unspoken questions. Why was this box here, buried beneath layers of neglect? She felt her heartbeat quicken, uncertainty knotted in her stomach. Clarity flickered, igniting the urgency to uncover the truth her late husband had so carefully concealed. Days turned into a frantic search, as Clara meticulously explored every inch of her property. She combed through the barn, rustling through old tools and dusty hay bales, each creak of the wood echoing her mounting dread. The box weighed heavily on her mind, a tangible reminder of secrets buried along with memories of her husband. Neighboring farmers' laughter, once a balm for her loneliness, now grumbled as whispers of a condemned barn leaned toward rumor. The air around her thickened with suspicion. Clara felt like a ghost wandering among the living, searching for answers that felt just beyond reach. While digging deeper into her investigation, Clara stumbled upon a series of old letters tucked beneath a loose floorboard, each yellowed page revealing fragments of a life once vibrant. They spoke of debts, betrayals, and an enigmatic figure known only as the Watcher, who had stalked her husband throughout their marriage. With every sentence she read, Clara's anger twisted into determination. The urgency to confront the truth burned brightly, and she understood that her husband's past was not merely a shadow. It was an entanglement that threatened to resurface, warning her of rising danger lurking close by. As twilight descended, the looming barn grew oppressive, its shadows stretching like grasping fingers toward Clara. She felt the weight of the secrets pressing against her, turning her resolve into an iron will. The sound of rustling outside sent her heart racing, each creak of the barn's timbers threatening to unravel her newfound strength. She could hear whispers in the wind, mingling with memories that clawed at her heart. Clara clutched the box tightly, the chilling realization that to uncover the truth was to confront both the past and the very real menace it posed. Shadows morphed into a reminder that she was not alone in this. The Watcher could be watching her right now. In the ultimate showdown, Clara stood face to face with the Watcher, the weight of the box in her hands a symbol of her newfound courage. Moonlight illuminated the betrayal etched into the stranger's features, revealing the truth of her husband's hidden life. As she opened the box, its contents spilling across the ground, she found tangible proof of a conspiracy that twisted her husband's fate. The confrontation tested her spirit, each revelation demanding strength she had long forgotten. But the fire in her heart ignited with each secret unveiled, transforming her grief into determination. They stared at each other, and Clara knew this was only the beginning of reclaiming her life, one secret at a time. The wind howled through the skeletal remains of the barn, a sound that seemed almost alive. As she knelt in the dirt, Claire brushed away the last of the debris, her heart racing with anticipation. There it was, a wooden box weathered yet sturdy, emblazoned with her name in faded gold lettering. A flicker of recognition ignited her mind, memories of a childhood spent exploring forgotten places, but the weight of uncertainty hung in the air. Did the box hold remnants of her past or answers to questions she feared to ask? A lingering doubt clawed at her. Was it a gift or a curse? With the box cradled in her arms, Claire felt the shadows of her new life close in around her. She ventured into town, where whispers danced in the air like a fog, heavy with suspicion and intrigue. Old friends had morphed into wary acquaintances, their gazes sharp as they sized her up. She approached Ruth, the town historian, whose eyes gleamed with knowledge and secrets. As they delved into conversation, Claire's heart raced. Ruth's brows knitted together, a mix of concern and curiosity etched on her face. What could she unveil about the box? What had she hidden in the folds of her own history? Days turned to restless nights as Claire pored over the box in her dimly lit living room. Each creak of the floorboards echoed her growing paranoia. Was someone watching? The more she excavated its contents, old letters, photographs of strangers, and a curious key, the more entangled she felt in a web of mysteries. Who were these people? The letters spoke of betrayal and longing, entwining her life with a narrative she had never known. Yet, as she pieced together snippets of the past, familiar faces flashed through her mind, and the realization hit her. Some of those strangers bore an uncanny resemblance to her neighbors. In the shadows of twilight, Claire sensed a rising threat. The air thickened with tension as she caught glimpses of tall figures loitering near the barn, their outlines etched against the dusky horizon. With a heart pounding in her chest, she confronted Ruth, her only ally, in pursuit of the truth. The gravity of their conversation sent a chill through her. Ruth's hesitant admissions revealed a darker side to the town's history, a conspiracy rooted in fear and silence. As revelations began to surface, Claire's world shifted beneath her feet, and she knew she was no longer an outsider. She had uncovered something that threatened to unravel everything she once thought she knew. The final confrontation came unexpectedly, under the stark light of the moon. Claire stood face to face with those who once wore smiles, but now bore masks of malice. The key turned in her hand, the weight of it heavy with implication. As she voiced her discoveries, the betrayals, the hidden lives, their expressions twisted from friendly familiarity to raw hostility. With her name etched upon that box, Claire realized she was not merely a participant. She was a catalyst. The secrets of the past crashed against the present, her resolve crystallizing. It was time to confront the demons that lurked not only in the barn but within the hearts of those she once called friends. As dusk settled over the dilapidated barn, Clara knelt in the cool earth, her hands trembling as she brushed away the loose dirt. The golden hour illuminated the box, its wood aged and splintered, with her name etched into the side in faded script. The dog, a scruffy mutt named Jasper, barked excitedly, tail wagging as if he understood the gravity of the moment. Clara's heartbeat quickened. She glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to find someone watching her. Alone on her forlorn property, the air felt charged with secrets waiting to be uncovered. After securing the box under her arm, Clara retreated to her tiny kitchen, where shadows loomed longer as the sun sank. She placed the box on the table, heart racing, fingers itching to pry it open. The peeling paint on the walls seemed to close in, as if the barn itself held its breath, waiting for her to uncover its history. With a deep breath, she reached for the latch, her mind swirling with possibilities. Treasures, letters, perhaps a message from the past. Each flick of her wrist felt like a step toward a revelation that could change everything. The evening stretched into a restless night, Clara's thoughts tumbling over each other like the leaves swirling outside her window. She could hear the wind howling, matching the urgency that pulsed in her veins. What did the box contain? Memories? Regrets? The churning unease in her gut hinted at something darker, though. Determined not to let fear take the reins, she resolved to investigate further. Perhaps the town's old records held the key to understanding why this box lingered in her life, why it had resurfaced just when she had begun to feel that nothing could surprise her again. The following day, Clara made her way to the town hall, the wooden floors creaking under her weight. She was greeted by the familiar face of Mr. Thompson, the clerk who had seen the town's stories unfold across decades like pages in a tattered book. His slight frown deepened as he scanned her face, sensing her urgency. As she recounted the mystery of the box, his expression shifted from curiosity to concern, leading her to a dusty archive room. Clara felt the weight of so many unseen stories pressing in as she sifted through faded newspapers and photographs, every piece a potential thread weaving her closer to the truth. The atmosphere shifted as Clara stumbled upon an article detailing a tragic accident linked to her land, a fire that had consumed the barn decades ago. The names of those involved danced before her eyes, chilling her resolve. What had begun as a simple investigation now seemed to linger with a sense of foreboding. The deeper she delved, the more it felt like the past was clawing back into her life, whispering secrets she was not prepared to hear. Shadows flickered at the edge of her vision, and a ghostly feeling crept in, reminding her that she was not alone. The past loomed close, and its revelations might come at a terrible cost. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced around the dilapidated barn, Clara knelt beside her dog, Rufus. He scratched furiously at the earth, his excitement palpable as dirt flew into the air like confetti. Clara's heart raced. She wasn't just a widowed farmer anymore. She was a detective in her own right. A glint caught her eye, and with trembling hands, she unearthed a small, rusted box. It bore her name, a chilling link to the past she thought she had buried deep. What secrets had her late husband hidden away? With renewed determination, Clara set out to investigate the weathered barn's recesses. Each creak of the floorboards echoed her mounting dread, as memories of laughter and quarrels entwined with each step. She rummaged through the dusty corners, uncovering remnants of a life once filled with promise. In the rafters, she discovered a tattered journal belonging to her husband, its pages yellowed and brittle. The ink was barely legible, but Clara's pulse quickened at the mention of a hidden truth, and the names of people she had only heard in whispered conversations, a web of connections stretching far beyond the confines of her farm. As night cloaked the land, An uneasy sensation unfurled within Clara. She wasn't alone. A flicker of movement beyond the barn doors caught her eye, and her heart thudded in her chest. Shadows converged, and she sensed danger lurking just outside her fragile sanctuary. Rufus growled, his instinctive loyalty a fierce protector against the encroaching darkness. Clara clutched the journal, its pages now a lifeline tethering her to the truth. But as she turned to flee, a figure emerged, silhouetted against the moonlit sky, their intentions unreadable. In a tense standoff, Clara stood firm, the box still clutched tightly in her hand. The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, Tom, her late husband's brother, a man she had trusted. The emotions flooding her were a chaotic storm of confusion and betrayal. "You shouldn't have found that," he said, voice low and threatening. Clara's mind raced, connecting threads of secrets long buried, questions about her husband's past that had simmered beneath the surface. "What are you hiding, Tom?" she demanded, her voice trembling but resolute, the revelation of the box looming like a storm cloud. Just as the tension reached its peak, the truth spilled forth like a broken dam. Tom's motivations unfurled, revealing a dark history that intertwined both their families, secrets of betrayal and loss. This was more than a simple inheritance. It was a legacy steeped in deception. As the confrontation deepened, Clara felt a fire ignite within her, igniting both fear and courage. With the weight of the past threatening to crush her, she faced her brother-in-law, the box poised to shatter the silence, ready to unearth the truth, no matter the cost. The evening sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the desolate fields. Clara knelt beside the freshly unearthed box, her heart thundering in her chest. The wood was splintered and darkened with age, but the faint engraving of her name glimmered faintly in the dying light. The dog, a scruffy mutt named Jack, barked excitedly, tail wagging as if he were celebrating some small victory. Clara's fingers trembled as she brushed away the dirt, revealing a rusted latch. It was an unexpected gift from the earth, but the thrill of discovery buried itself deep within her, a pulse of hope in her lonely world. With the box tucked under her arm, Clara stepped into the barn, the air thick with the scent of decaying hay and untold secrets. She fumbled with the latch and opened it, revealing a collection of faded photographs, yellowed letters, and a peculiar silver locket. Each piece felt like a whisper from the past, teasing her with the fragments of someone else's life, perhaps an ancestor or a stranger with a similar name. Determined to piece together the puzzle, she spread the contents across the barn's dusty floor, her heart racing with the possibility of connection and legacy. But as curiosity engulfed her, a shadow lingered at the edge of her awareness, a gnawing sense of something more sinister. Days turned into restless nights as Clara dove deeper into the investigation, combing through town records and probing the few neighbors who still remembered the barn's former occupants. Whispers of a tragedy echoed in her mind, a family torn apart, secrets buried deeper than the earth itself. The locals spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting away as if they could stave off the truth simply by avoiding its mention. As she connected the dots, Clara felt a chill run down her spine. There were those who didn't want the past unearthed, those whose lives might unravel with the revelation of forgotten sins. Tensions brewed as Clara's inquiries attracted unwanted attention. Late one stormy night, she pored over the letters again, piecing together fragmented sentiments of love and loss, when a loud crash jolted her upright. The barn door creaked ominously, swinging wildly in the wind. Heart racing, she grabbed the silver locket, clenching it tightly in her fist. The gusts outside masqueraded as danger, yet Clara felt compelled to confront whatever, or whoever, threatened her newfound purpose. She stepped cautiously towards the door, ready to unmask the shadow lurking in the dark. The confrontation was swift and brutal. A figure loomed in the doorway, cloaked in the storm's fury, eyes glinting like dark jewels. "You shouldn't have dug that up, Clara," a voice growled, heavy with threat and regret. The truth of long ago betrayals and anger spilled forth, leaving Clara breathless. The locket slipped from her fingers, clattering to the ground, a tangible reminder of the lives intertwined in this forgotten tale. As the storm raged outside, Clara stood firm, the weight of history heavy on her shoulders. The final showdown had begun, a battle not just for her safety, but for the very truths buried beneath the soil. The wind howled through the cracks of the dilapidated barn, its boards creaking like whispers of the past. The dog, a scrappy mutt with a nose keen as a hawk's, dug feverishly at the barn floor, sending splinters flying in all directions. With a final triumphant yelp, he unearthed a weathered wooden box adorned with intricate carvings. As the sun broke through the clouds, a shaft of light illuminated the tarnished lock. Ella's heart raced. The box bore her name, scrawled in the same delicate hand that had penned love notes beneath the stars. It was a discovery that felt both personal and foreboding. Determined to uncover the box's secrets, she brushed off the dirt and clasped it tightly. Memories of her late husband flooded her mind, each one a bittersweet reminder of their shared dreams. She recalled the tales he spun of buried treasures and family legacies. With the sun sinking low, casting shadows over the fields, Ella felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. The barn wasn't just a condemned structure. It held echoes of lives intertwined. Drawing a deep breath, she decided to investigate further, her heart pounding with a blend of excitement and unease. Ella's search led her to the town's library, where she pored over dusty records and local folklore. Each page revealed fragments of tales about the land's initial settlers, secrets passed down through generations, and whispers of betrayal. As the clouds churned above, threatening a storm, tension coiled in her gut. The more she unearthed, the clearer it became that her husband's death wasn't the accident it seemed. A glimmer of danger lurked behind her discoveries. The townsfolk, once friendly faces, now wore inscrutable masks. Their casual conversations felt like veils hiding deeper truths. Nightfall brought an unsettling quiet, and Ella returned to the barn armed with flickering lantern light and the box clutched under her arm. Shadows danced ominously around her as she unlocked the box, her hands trembling. Inside lay a collection of letters yellowed with age, detailing a conspiracy that reached into the very heart of the town. Each line, penned in desperation, revealed a web of deceit, betrayal, and hidden motives. She understood now that those she trusted were not who they appeared to be. The weight of her findings settled heavily on her shoulders, igniting a fire of resolve within her. The final confrontation awaited at dawn, a reckoning she could no longer avoid. The townsfolk had gathered under the guise of a community meeting, but the tension in the air crackled with hostility. Ella stepped forward, the letters clutched tightly in her hand, her heart racing as she locked eyes with the familiar faces that now masked their true intentions. With each revelation spoken, the facade of trust crumbled, and the dog barked at her feet, a loyal sentinel in a storm of hidden betrayals. She had unearthed the truth. Now she would demand justice, her voice steady against the rising tide of deceit. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the dilapidated barn that nestled awkwardly among the cornfields. Emma stood at the threshold, heart racing, as her eyes beheld the freshly unearthed box, its rough-hewn surface still stained with the earth from the dog's relentless digging. She hesitated, her breath shallow, the name inscribed on the weathered lid pulling her closer. The sight of her own name, coupled with the reality of her widowhood, stirred a tempest of confusion and longing inside her. What secrets lay entwined with her identity, buried in this forsaken relic? With trembling hands, she pried open the box, revealing a collection of faded photographs and brittle letters, each tide of nostalgia crashing against her like the wind-swept cornstalks. The images depicted a life she had never known, a younger version of herself, laughing alongside a man she couldn't place. The letters, penned in a spidery script, spoke of dreams, loss, and a promise made but never fulfilled. As she pieced together the fragments, old wounds reopened within her, each word amplifying the hollowness in her heart. Who was this man? And why had her past become entangled with this haunted relic? Days turned into restless nights as Emma delved deeper into her investigation, her mind swirling with unanswered questions. She sought out the town's historian, Mrs. Thompson, a spindly figure with an untamed pile of gray hair, who was rumored to know every whisper of the town's past. In the dim light of the town's archives, Emma learned of a tragic accident decades ago, a fire that had engulfed a barn, claiming lives and burying secrets. As she listened, the pieces of her life began to shift, aligning in ways she could scarcely comprehend. but the weight of discovery only deepened her anxiety. As shadows lengthened and danger loomed, Emma became aware of the unsettling presence of a figure she hadn't considered. A neighbor, Jacob, whose interest in her plight bordered on obsession. He had offered help, but each gesture felt insidious, as if he were watching her unravel the threads of a mystery that might lead to his own dark past. The barn, a mere husk of wood and memories, transformed into a crucible of fear as her dreams turned restless, filled with haunting whispers and smoke that suffocated her. Emma knew she was onto something, but the closer she got to the truth, the more precarious her situation became. On a storm-lashed night, Emma faced the revelation she had feared. She stumbled upon a hidden compartment within the barn, its contents revealing a connection between her life and a decades-old conspiracy. The letters hinted at a betrayal that reverberated through generations, implicating not only Jacob, but a web of families tied together by blood and loss. Confronting Jacob in the flickering light of the barn, she demanded the truth, her voice steady despite the tempest outside. The confrontation unearthed more than the buried box. It unraveled a legacy that had haunted her, revealing that some mysteries, once cracked open, cannot be contained. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long, jagged shadows across the dilapidated barn. As autumn leaves crunched under her feet, Margaret knelt beside Duke, her loyal dog, who had unearthed a weathered box half buried in the soft earth. Her heart raced with a blend of fear and curiosity, the rusted latch gleaming ominously in the fading light. This place, once a sanctuary of laughter and love, now harbored secrets. With trembling hands, she brushed away the dirt, revealing her name crudely etched into the wood. Confusion twisted in her gut as the past clawed its way back toward her. With the box clutched tightly to her chest, Margaret returned to her kitchen, the familiar walls now feeling like a cage. Memories of her late husband flooded her mind, intertwining with the mystery now unfolding. She could almost hear his voice, urging her to uncover the truth. As she sat at the table, the box before her felt alive, whispering stories of betrayal and loss. Gathering her courage, she pried the lid open, revealing a stack of faded letters and a small locket, the kind only shared in whispers between lovers. Each letter bore the secret of a life she thought she knew. Determined to uncover the meaning behind the letters, Margaret delved deeper into the history of the barn, tracing its origins and its previous owners. The town's archives revealed unsettling tales of betrayal and a hidden affair, each revelation darkening her heart. She approached old-timers in the community, their eyes veiling more than they shared. Their hushed words hinted at a storm lurking just beyond the horizon, as if the very air crackled with the tension of long-buried secrets. Shadows grew longer, and Margaret couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her investigation with malicious intent. As the days passed, the atmosphere shifted like a brewing storm. Whispers behind closed doors seemed to grow louder. The barn, once a mere shell, transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and echoes. Duke began to act strangely, growling at corners where light and dark mingled. Each creak of the old timbers echoed Margaret's fear, tightening her chest with the realization that the past was not content to remain buried. She had uncovered something profound, and now it was clear. Unraveling the truth could draw her into a web of danger she wasn't prepared for. The final piece fell into place when Margaret confronted an old acquaintance from her past, someone who once loved her husband deeply. With the weight of her discoveries pressing on her heart, she demanded the truth. In the dim light of the barn, where dust motes danced in uneasy silence, the figure revealed a conspiracy that shook Margaret to her core. In that moment, betrayal, love, and loss collided, forcing her to reckon with the man she thought she'd known. The confrontation ignited a primal fear, compelling her to choose between the legacy of her husband and the woman she must now become. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dilapidated barn, as Clara knelt beside her dog, Finn. His paws were muddy, digging tirelessly in the soft earth. Each claw scraped against something solid, and an unfamiliar sense of urgency gripped her. When he finally unearthed a small, weathered box, Clara felt her heart quicken. A name was etched on the lid. Her name. A jolt of recognition coursed through her. The world around her faded, enveloped in an electric silence as the gravity of the moment settled in. What could possibly be inside? Careful fingers pried open the box, revealing a collection of yellowed letters and a rusted locket. Each letter was penned in a delicate script, speaking of love, loss, and hidden dreams from a life long past. As she sifted through the correspondence, Clara felt an undeniable connection to a lineage she had never known. The letters hinted at an ancient feud that had upended families, a secret buried deep within the very soil she now tilled. A chill crept along her spine, the weight of her discovery tugging at her heartstrings and compelling her to delve deeper. Determined, Clara enlisted the help of her neighbor, Raymond, a taciturn man with a penchant for local history. As they spread the letters across her kitchen table, an aura of intrigue enveloped them. Raymond's brows furrowed as he recognized names that danced across Clara's pages. Whispers of an old rivalry sparked memories of hushed conversations he'd overheard as a child. Clara felt the pull of history weave around them, yet underneath it all was an unsettling sense of dread. Danger lurked in the shadows. Old wounds had yet to heal, and they were about to disturb the restless ghosts of the past. Late one evening, as Clara's resolve grew, a threatening figure loomed outside the barn. It was an ominous presence, a silhouette against the pale glow of the moonlight. The secrets she'd unearthed had clearly not gone unnoticed. Clara's heart raced. She could almost hear the whispers of the letters echoing in her mind, urging her to stay vigilant. With Finn by her side, she faced the darkness, the fear mingling with adrenaline. The thrill of the unknown was intoxicating, yet she was painfully aware that every choice could lead her deeper into peril or closer to the truth. The revelation struck like lightning. Clara discovered the locket contained a hidden compartment, within which lay a key that could unlock a cache of long-lost family heirlooms buried beneath the very barn she called home. It was then she understood the legacy of her ancestry, the very fabric of her being woven through generations. But with this knowledge came a confrontation she hadn't anticipated. Raymond's demeanor shifted, his intentions shrouded in darkness. The truth was not just a matter of history, it was a matter of survival. Clara steeled herself, ready to face the man she thought she could trust, as the weight of legacy bore down on her soul, propelling her toward a destiny she had yet to comprehend. The late afternoon sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the cracked soil of the farm. Clara knelt in the dusty barn, her heart racing as she brushed away the dirt from the small, weathered box her dog had unearthed. The wood was splintered, age-worn but sturdy, etched with her name, something that sent chills through her. Memories swirled in her mind like leaves caught in a gust. What had been hidden here? Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid, revealing an old locket, its golden surface tarnished, but the intricate design still whispered secrets from its past. The locket was heavy in her palm, a reminder of a life once lived, and Clara's thoughts spiraled. Who had placed it there? Was it tied to her late husband, Samuel, who had often spoken of buried treasures and family heirlooms? She could practically hear him now, his voice teasing her with tales of adventure. With the growing shadows of doubt creeping in, she decided to investigate further. The barn, with its rotting beams and peeling paint, felt less like a refuge and more like a crypt, holding long-buried truths waiting to be uncovered. Days turned into restless nights as Clara pored over old letters, photo albums, and Samuel's journals, her obsession deepening with each page. They spoke of a family history laden with secrets, whispers of a hidden past that stretched beyond the confines of the land. But as her investigation unfolded, so did a gnawing sense of danger. The feeling lurked just beyond her field of vision. Was it the unsettling presence of her neighbor, Tom, or the ominous shadow that fell across her life since Samuel's passing? Each step deeper into the mystery seemed to tighten an unseen noose around her heart. The barn itself, once a sanctuary, morphed into a labyrinth of echoes and shadows as Clara pieced together clues. The locket led her to a series of hidden compartments within the barn's ancient timbers, each revealing a fragment of a life that was more than mere nostalgia. Yet the more she uncovered, the more she felt eyes upon her. It wasn't just the land that was condemned. There were murmurings in the nearby town, old feuds resurfacing, and she sensed the people she thought she knew were now watching her with wary eyes. Each visit to the barn drew her deeper into a web of deception, and Clara's resolve faltered. Finally, the air grew thick with tension as Clara confronted Tom. He stood at her gate, fists clenched, a storm brewing in his eyes. "You should stop digging, Clara. Some things are best left buried." His words hung heavy, an unspoken warning that cut to the core of her being. The locket lay in her pocket, its cold metal a source of courage, and she met his gaze unflinchingly. "What are you afraid of, Tom?" she challenged, every word like a spark igniting the dry tinder of their shared history. In that moment, a reckoning approached, and the truth of the past threatened to collide with the present, ready to rewrite the story of their lives forever. The sun hung low over the horizon, casting an orange glow on the dilapidated barn. Dust swirled like phantoms around Mary as she knelt, heart racing, by the box her dog had unearthed. The familiar name etched into the wood sent a shiver down her spine. It was her name, but it was the date beneath it that played a sinister tune in her mind. A date corresponding to her late husband's last days. As she opened the rusty latch, her breath caught. Inside lay documents and photographs, evidence that promised to unravel the very fabric of her life. With each item she sifted through, memories crashed over Mary like waves, threatening to drown her. Old letters revealed secrets intertwined, links to a hidden plot that connected her husband to powerful men in town. She glanced at the photographs, faces she recognized but had only brushed against in passing. It was a tangled web of deceit, and with each discovery the air felt thicker, cloaked in a sense of dread. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching, shadowy figures lurking behind the edges of her grief and confusion. Driven by an urgency ignited by the revelations, Mary sought out Sam, her husband's closest friend, and a man she'd always trusted. As she shared her findings, his face shifted from concern to something darker, something she hadn't seen before. A veil of tension settled between them, laden with unspoken truths. Sam urged her to drop the investigation, spinning tales that felt rehearsed. But doubt festered in her chest. Fear gripped her heart. Was he a friend, or was he part of the conspiracy that loomed before her? As night fell, danger crept closer. Mary noticed a figure lingering at the barn's entrance, a silhouette partially obscured by shadows. Adrenaline surged as she clasped the box to her chest, realizing that she had ventured too far into a storm she could not control. She had become both hunter and hunted. With the photograph still fresh in her mind, she confronted the figure. It was Sam. The air crackled with tension as accusations flared, and the night echoed their exchanged harsh words, secrets unraveling like thread from a frayed tapestry. The final act unfolded in the heart of that barn, a place once thought to be merely a shelter. Mary stood firm, the weight of the truth anchoring her resolve. As Sam's facade shattered, revealing a desperate man fueled by fear and betrayal, she realized the mystery was not just about her husband's secrets, but her own strength to confront the past and secure her future. The confrontation was not only physical, it was the climax of her emotional journey. With every revelation she wielded the power of her story, ready to take back her life, one truth at a time. The sun dipped low on the horizon, its dying light filtering through the warped slats of the condemned barn. Clara knelt beside her dog, Scout, who pawed frantically at the earth, unearthed soil flying in all directions. Beneath the surface, a glint of metal caught her eye, a rusted box, seemingly forgotten by time. Curiosity bubbled within her, a mix of dread and excitement. As she pried the lid open, an inscribed locket tumbled into her palm bearing her name. Her breath hitched, a shiver racing down her spine. This was more than a relic. This was a shadow from her past, and it demanded answers. The air thickened with uncertainty as Clara stood, clutching the locket like a lifeline. An eerie chill swept through the barn, pushing against the memories she had buried. Clara's heart thudded in her chest as doubts flooded her mind. Who had left this here, and why? She found herself spiraling into the tangled threads of her late husband's life, a man she had thought she knew. Determined to unearth the truth, she sought out the whispers of the town, familiar faces now cloaked in suspicion that made her feel like an intruder in her own existence. Days turned to weeks, and every revelation only deepened the mystery. Clara learned of old connections and hidden rivalries, pieces of a puzzle that painted a different picture of her husband, one that skirted the edges of danger. Each conversation felt like a tightening noose, drawing her closer to an unseen peril. As the barn loomed over her, she sensed eyes watching, lurking in the shadows of her grief. The more she uncovered, the more her once peaceful life cracked under the weight of unearthing secrets that had long been buried. The night was suffocating as she found herself standing before the barn again, the air electric with tension. Clara had pieced together enough threads to know someone was desperate to keep the truth hidden. The locket glimmered in her pocket, a token of resilience and resolve. With each step toward the barn, a sense of impending confrontation gripped her. She was not just fighting for her past, she was battling unseen foes whose hands had shaped her present. The time for uncovering the truth had come. The specter of her husband loomed large in the chaos of her heart. Inside the barn, in the flickering lamplight, Clara faced the shadows of her past. A figure stepping out from the darkness with a familiar gait. It was Eli, the town's recluse, the one person who had known her husband too well. Anger and fear twisted in her gut at the sight of him. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, voice low and steady, eyes reflecting an unsettling mix of concern and warning. The tension thickened, suffocating yet electrifying. As Clara lifted the locket, its presence a challenge. What did he hide from me? The confrontation was inevitable, the truth finally at hand, and with it the promise of closure or destruction. The sun dipped low, casting elongated shadows across the dilapidated barn. Clara stood frozen, her breath hitching as she peered into the crumbling structure. As the evening light caught her dog, Scout, he pawed eagerly at the earth beneath an old timber beam. When a shrill bark broke the stillness, Clara rushed over, heart pounding. She knelt beside him, fingers trembling as she dug away the damp soil. The glint of metal caught her eye, and her pulse quickened. Soon, a rusted box emerged, her name etched into its surface. Hope mingled with dread, as she realized this could change everything. With the box cradled in her hands, Clara's mind raced back to the whispers of the town. The rumors of lost treasures and secrets buried long ago echoed through her thoughts. She decided to investigate, pursuing the threads of her family's past that tied her to this forsaken land. Armed with a flashlight and a notebook, she sought out Miss Agnes, the town's unofficial historian, and a woman whose eyes sparkled with stories. As they pored over old town records together, a pattern emerged. Her family was entangled in a web of betrayal, secrets, and unfulfilled promises. Days passed, and the shadows grew longer as Clara pursued every lead. She followed the trail of lost heirs and hidden legacies that seemed to draw her deeper into the murky past. But with every revelation, she felt an unsettling presence, a watchful eye lurking just beyond the edges of her investigation. A late-night visit from an old acquaintance turned sinister when he hinted that some secrets were meant to stay buried. The air thickened with tension, and with Scout at her side, Clara sensed danger creeping closer, a reminder that digging up the past could unleash more than just memories. One stormy evening, Clara returned to the barn, the box clutched tightly to her chest. She had finally deciphered the cryptic letters within. They spoke of a hidden inheritance, a fortune tied to her ancestors' betrayal. As lightning illuminated the barn, she could hear whispers behind her. An intruder shadowed her every move. Panic surged within her, but she pressed on, determined to confront the truth no matter the cost. She could no longer afford to run from the ghosts of her lineage. Wrapped in the noise of the storm, she steeled herself for the final revelation that awaited her. In the heart of the barn, Clara faced her adversary, an unexpected figure from her past, a family tie she never anticipated. As the confrontation unfolded, the weight of years of deception spilled into the air, mingling with the smell of rain and damp wood. Anguish and clarity collided as she demanded answers, her voice unwavering despite the tremor in her hands. The box, once a mere collection of rust and dirt, transformed into the key to her freedom. In that raw moment, she understood that redemption was not just about reclaiming the past, but embracing the pain to carve a path toward her future. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden light across the reclaimed barn, Sarah stood amid the remnants of a life once shrouded in shadow. The box, unearthed by her faithful dog, had unveiled not just a hidden past, but a tapestry of connection that spanned decades. Each letter, each photograph, breathed life into a forgotten love story, and whispered truths long buried. In peeling back the layers of her late husband's secrets, Sarah uncovered not only the mystery of his past, but a deeper understanding of herself. She had entered the barn a widowed farmer, haunted by grief yet emerged renewed, ready to embrace the vibrant tapestry of community and history that surrounded her. The confrontation with the unknown had not only brought clarity, but had ultimately led her to healing. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Sarah realized that home is not merely a structure, it is a collection of stories, a refuge forged in truth. In the quiet of the night, she understood that every secret holds the potential for redemption, and every revelation, no matter how painful, paves the way toward hope. In the end, it is love, past and present, that binds us to the places we call home.